maybe the hyenas have eaten my internet. I can't even get to the chat. So, chaps, if you can hear me, don't know if you can hear me. I've just resent this link. Otherwise, yes, it's just me. Oh, no, you got to go this way and that way. There we are. I can't get to the comments. Oh, where's the book now? How do I get you in? Hi, caramba. How I heard the pot. I'm on. This is all going very well, isn't it? Very well indeed. How do I get the guessing? Guess. There's Ian. Add to stream. Hello.
Hello.
You know how when you stroll down to a computer and then everything goes off about 15 minutes before you start going, there's another pop. How do I get that person in there? Master, it's all going to be comments now, isn't it? Is he? Oh, right. Where can I sticky tape this thing to?
He makes this streaming thing look awfully easy, doesn't he, Bruce?
Yeah, I wish I was this good, man.
Hey. Thank goodness I don't have 550 people joining my streams or whatever it is, because that would be terrible.
That's nothing. Did you see the NASA numbers? Wow.
Oh, come on. You're being very modest there.
500 is very nice for me. I think the Everyday Astronaut had over a million live.
I was one of them. Yeah.
I was actually watching David the EV blog. Is what I was watching. That's what I did it on.
And then I fell asleep because it wasn't going to happen. And then it was very interesting watching them filling the air, wasn't it?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
But did you see that Starlink went down last night for several hours, and it's still patchy today? Yeah, the Russian hackers might have got in the back door. They had to reboot all the satellites just to bring it back up, running old code now, so it's all flaky.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting that just as I was fouling up the start of this, I see us in the EU are sending millions of radiation pills to Ukraine, and Gorbachev died. I think it was Gorbachev.
Gorbachev has passed away.
He didn't fall off a tall building, did he?
Wow.
Oh no, I don't know. I can't because the camera's on the side, of course, with my cell phone. Oh, tell me that's the main internet back. No, the internet has fallen over in South Africa in multiple ways this evening. I don't know why.
But no, it was a busy stream. Yes, 500 people is a lot of 550. I think it was.
If only they'd all given you $100 super chat, you could retire.
To be honest, I'd have done okay on one.
I was tempted. Not on this exotic lifestyle.
No, I was tempted when they were baiting for the teardown. I was actually tempted to say, right, here's a deal. Every one of you gives $1, just one, nice and simple, and I will tear them apart. Because at the end of the day, I'd have covered the entire
cost. You did it the next day anyway.
I managed to get in to a point. But to a point I was comfortable with. And look, I could have gone all the way. However,
a number of times I've heard that, eh?
Yeah. However, there is a point, and Bruce knows what I mean on this. There's a very real possibility that you will break something going beyond a certain point. This isn't like taking an RC apart. You can see from the images their level of integration now is extremely high. No glue.
And when it comes to breaking things, Ian is a master.
I'm at top of the list. And it's nice to see there isn't actually glue in there, and they should be congratulated for that. Because if you look at the PC industry and the right to repair campaign, adhesives has been a big part of most product manufacturing these days. But it's all screws. But I couldn't see a happy path without really breaking something, and that was the point I thought I need this to work later today.
Well, fair play to you tearing it down, and it looks like, the reviews I've seen, it looks like a very interesting product. It seems like they've smashed it out the park this time.
The drone is good. The drone is good, and the real simple term to do with it, the drone makes sense. The problem with the FPV drone was it was too much DJI and not enough FPV, and the balance wasn't right. The good thing with this is, yes, it's a bit weighty, but as a cine, a smaller cine drone, it actually makes sense. It's not particularly expensive when you look at all of the ready to fly stuff. Okay, if you build one yourself, there's question marks, but it isn't particularly expensive. It flies really well. It actually, I've flown this thing into places I would never have normally done on a normal aircraft, because the props are enclosed, and even on some of my little cine whoops, they're all over the place, whereas this isn't. The actual weight helps. The problem with a lot of the cine whoops is they're so light, they get into a small, and the prop wash just becomes a problem. It isn't for this. I think I saw a video Ken Dobo's just put out, which he used it as a sort of a move around a house he was doing for sale, because Ken does real estate, and it's really good. And I think a lot of people, now the goggles have a number of issues, but the drone, I think they've done all right. I think they've done all right here.
What are you expecting? Something else?
What about the CE power levels? I mean, this is going to be 25 milliwatts. If people are going to try and fly this proximity behind things, and how well is it working with 25 milliwatts?
It's doing okay. I haven't pushed it dramatically. I'm of the opinion you shouldn't be flying this a mile away. I'm not being funny. This isn't a product, and it will do it, but it isn't designed for it. Now, there is an FCC hack out already. It has come, but the only reason I haven't published it is because it's chargeable. The guys who made the free one last time have already got a craft in hand, and they're on holiday until like the middle of this week. And when he gets back, his exact words were, "We think it's basically the same as the FPV drone. They just need to tweak a few things." And the guys who did it free before have every intention of doing it free again. So we probably will get FCC power levels. But I had a guy the other day ask me, he said, "Oh, how far will it fly?" And I'm like, you want to fly a cine whoop as far as you can? That's not the drone for it, is it? I'll be honest.
I'm thinking more the proximity. Go behind trees. Go behind buildings.
I've had no issues. I've had no issues with that. I've flown it around the park. I've flown it. It's great around the park.
But I've seen how you fly. You wouldn't know if the radio link had stopped working.
No, not the range I'm on. I hit that bag full on. That bag. And the only problem with that controller is there's a bit of delay, so I could see the bag coming, and I was like, right, lift the arm. And I lifted the arm, and the drone just went straight forward, because it doesn't do that. It sort of does that. You know what I mean? Almost like a plane climb is what it does with that controller. And I'd gone from like 3 inches from the ground to 6 inches above the ground, yet still at impact height. But it survived. It's solid. I think they've got the balance right. It's not for everyone. It's not the perfect product, but the camera is phenomenal. It's so much better, Bruce. So much better than what we have.
What about the elephant in the room for American owners when this 26th or 16th of September comes around, and the final rule says that the remote ID system must be working, transmitting the aircraft location and the operator location before you can fly the model. So if you're inside with a tin roof and you don't have that GPS lock, is it still going to be compliant with the final rule?
Not an issue. That all drone pilots in US are going to jail. Come on, tell them.
every avatar comes with a file and a hacksaw blade now.
The good thing is, Bruce, they can easily get around it. The craft is designed. The goggles are attached to the Fly app. They can get GPS. They can do DJI can get.
How can they get GPS?
Off the phone.
Off the phone.
But the phone, if you're inside, you might not get a GPS lock.
Yeah, but you don't need a GPS inside. You don't need to comply inside. There's
no, you do. You do. It says the craft, you're not allowed to sidestep the standard remote ID. And that must be something you cannot disable. So if you're flying it indoors, it must.
No, but remember, you could, because there's provision for flying in canyons and indoors.
Yes, but we haven't seen that, because the ASTM spec is not available. If you base a rule on a closed specification that's hidden behind a paywall, that's a ridiculous rule, because you and I won't, or the people won't know if their system is actually compliant. And if they do fly it outside the compliance, who's liable? Is it DJI or is it the operator for not checking?
I'd be astonished if this one they don't have a path on, because they've just done the Mavic 3, haven't they? So that's been in the process for a couple of weeks or months. I'm guessing we're about to see probably 3 or 4 DJI aircraft get certified in a very short period of time. I'm guessing the Mavic 3 was the kick the door open. And I bet we'll see a bunch of others. It's either that, or if we don't, it was a bit of a tester to see how the waters went. They're not going to create something they know they can't sell in a month.
Yeah.
But it does leave us wondering, though. I mean, because we don't know what the provisions in the ASTM are to fly in GPS unavailable locations. But the final rule says you must not be able to disable the standard remote ID. So if the remote ID has to have a GPS lock before it can fly, and you're not able to disable it, how are you going to know? How are you going to do it indoors? It's going to have to break the rule in some way.
I think that rule will get rewritten. I think because the standard has been agreed, which allows for it.
Or after the Americans get all in jail.
I think it's going to be delayed.
When you look at it, though, that rule is so badly implemented that they've got guidelines which contravene the actual letter of the rule. Because they've said, under the rule you can't fly FPV, but then they put this advisory that says, you can if you've got an observer, and they put all these add-ons to the rule before it's even implemented, before it's even put into effect, because they've just made such a botch up of the whole damn rule. It should be thrown out, and they start again.
The UK's is bad.
I want to see what's going on, what's going to happen next week in the drone whatever fair expo in Las Vegas. I want to see what's going to happen there about all these remote ID stuff. That's one of the topics.
They're loving it. They're loving it. They're loving it. They're loving it because it's opening up BV loss. The skies are open now. We're all going to make millions.
Drones are coming, and lots of them. I see. Wolf has said there's a script to disable the remote ID.
There is.
Yeah, which means what level of when the FAA says you must not be able to disable it, where do they draw the line between simply running a Python script or hacking, or what is the story? And if you disable it, then who knows? This is such a mess of a thing. I can't wait to see what happens over the next 6 months. It's going to be so exciting.
I think it's wonderful that America is running this little experiment for the rest of us, because they're going to show us a direct line to failure. I couldn't believe there's a chap trying to sell users in the UK RID devices for compliance, and he said on the old LinkedIn, the place where I get the most annoyed, he said, well, that American final ruling, it just shows you that's the way it is. It's the way it's going to. So he's trying to sell operators in and around London remote ID for now to increase safety. It's like, how? And he didn't like it when I pointed it out to him that it made no difference at all to what an aircraft would see.
And you want to bet he's going to sell a lot for guys in UK?
He won't.
He will.
He won't. Well, okay, he might to fools, but there is no remote ID requirement yet in the UK, and anyone, as I pointed out, making one's trivial, because I actually did load it on one of the ESP32s I've got. So it's not I don't need to buy your device, mate. But anyway, and what's all saying, guys, there was 200 kilos cloning on and crash. Yeah, it is a madness. Power parachutes, not. I mean, I wouldn't want to force it on that community, though. Having said that it's a madness that they don't do it, I still wouldn't want to force it on it. And funny enough,
because they got skin in the game, man. They don't need any of this stuff. They got skin in the game. But did you see Brendan's post? That video we featured last week with the firearm and the drone in the UK. Brendan saying, remote IDs, all that sort of stuff. And he seems to think that the FAA have handled this situation quite well, but they should just be issuing a notification that it's not good to use guns against drone operators, and that will solve the entire problem.
It's going to need more than that.
He's so pro remote ID. I do not understand what's going on with him.
Because they forced it. In the meetings, it was him.
Do you know any developments of that gentleman that was pointing the BB gun?
No, basically he was arrested and then released based on further questioning. So they nicked him. They raided his house. Basically, he fled the scene. They raided him in his house, and they recovered the gun. And then he was released.
And another one.
On further questioning, but some things had changed after that. You know, we had the Liverpool incident. I would not be shocked if it gets suddenly taken a lot further, because if you look in Liverpool, they've gone in the last week, they've made a huge amount of arrests over gun crime, almost like it was completely ignored. Yeah, because of the death of that poor girl. And they've gone massively after gangs. Now, it's a classic example of the horse bolting after the gate's been, you know, the gate, opening the gate of the horse bolted. But I wouldn't be shocked if that police force have also looked at this and gone, perhaps we need to take it more seriously, because the way that guy was brandishing that weapon, you can see him walking into a post office. You can see him doing anyone who behaves like that.
Yeah,
you know,
it's you can almost put the drone. Obviously, it brings it into our world, doesn't it?
The drone is somewhat irrelevant.
You can put it to one side, really. It's
only going to take a kid to walk past his house and say something to him, and next minute he's waving a gun.
Kick a football over the fence.
Yeah. So I think I wouldn't be shocked if that gets dealt with far more harsher than it was at the time. It was very much, they released him. And you sort of went, really? You're going to just let him walk the streets? I would guess today that isn't the case. Or at least I would like to think that isn't the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a thing. And interesting, you say police investigations in Liverpool, and on tenuous link to try and get round to police. And because Louis here, I'm going to mention Gatwick and Ian's latest... the other Ian's latest fires have revealed that the day before the Gatwick incident, there was talk of cyber incidents at Gatwick, and there was talk of cyber incidents at Birmingham as well within government circles. So definitely something more was going on. Oh dear. Now I know there's two of you, and it's which one's more poker face. In a minute, it's got to have been Louis doing that.
It's not me,
but it's there. Yeah, you never know.
It's not me.
Ian could be capable of a very pokery face there, couldn't he? So yeah. So so it's interesting. Interesting times all around. Remote ID and the country in question, there's a fair chance to be more than one incident. Yeah, I think there'll be lots, and it's going to be as soon as people twig that it's going to be trivial to set up listening posts to see where you're operating, i.e. an app that's on my phone now. It's done. All the work's done, and we pipe that data to.
Do you guys remember a couple of years ago? For the phones, there was that Pokemon game that you had to catch.
Got to catch them all.
and one of the cracks for the game was a fake GPS. I believe those apps are going to get some reborn for this remote ID. So we'll get some guys that the pilot location will be sent as Timbuktu or somewhere crazy like that.
Well, there's no doubt that they're gonna have to get off the fence as regards prosecution for that chap's gun incident in the UK and all around the world. I could be wrong saying this now. I think there might have been some prosecutions for people that have been threatening operators.
I think it has happened. Yeah. I think we just got to see what happens. It's not good. It'll be interesting. I was out flying the Avata the other day, and overhead I was waiting for some people to shift off the field I was on because it's quite a public place. I was using it, and the next minute a Phantom goes overhead, and I'm like, "Where is he?" And he wasn't at the field. God knows where he was, but he wasn't there. And I'm just going, I think it was a Phantom 3 or a Phantom 4. I know the tone. And I was like, oh, he's here somewhere. Where is he? Now, I to be honest, you just sort of think he was probably 100 meters up. Not I wouldn't say he was silly high, but he wasn't low, but he certainly wasn't where I was. He might have been in the car park in the front of the place because it's like a recreation area and then a building and then a car park. But it just shows, people are flying things now. And interesting, I'm still very touchy about flying at places like that, and it is a problem. You fly in a street. I've done some surveys myself. I've done some stuff. I do much less these days, if not nothing at all at the moment. And you turn up into a street, you start flying a drone, all the windows twitch. It's still a situation.
Body cam is going to be the norm. I can't really answer the comments, I'm afraid, because I'm on my phone and I can't get to the comments. But I reckon body cams wouldn't be too bad a shout.
For a professional user, and when you look at that poor guy who had the issues at that hotel with the wedding venue and stuff like that, the body cam put a very interesting slant on that and how that conversation changed when someone knew they were being filmed.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because what we're telling the public is, well, these things are so dangerous and so, whatever. We have to have you registered. We have to have you trained. We have to have these technology in the drone to track where you and your drone are. This is how the level of threat these things pose to the public. So the public naturally are going to be all worried and concerned when they see a drone, because it's not like a toy. It's not like a model plane or anything. It's a threat to them, because it must be, with all this regulation and restriction and all this technology that has to be added on. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, interestingly, all around the regulators are going to come to the party. We're beginning to perhaps be the biggest provider, or one of the bigger providers of cash. I know airlines chuck loads of them at them. But here today, and thanks to iForce 2D, he was watching some of my poorly executed live streams, and I used a porter in one of them. And today, the PC6, in Pretoria, I think it was, our police porter got airborne, and I can't go over my head, but the wings did that. They came together just after takeoff, killed all 6 on board. And lack of maintenance is what's being cited, and that's a police aircraft, a manned police aircraft for our police service here, not being properly maintained. We keep saying no one's been killed by sport hobby drones, even commercial drones. Yes, people have been killed by other sorts of ones, but manned aviation. And I think in America in the last 2 weeks, there's been, 3 mid-airs? And I can't remember how many people have died in them. So manned aviation, come on. They've got to start getting with the program, or the regulators have got to be. I'm not putting this very well. You know what I mean? It's not horses for courses, is it? We're not being treated fairly compared to.
Well, I think, as we've seen all around the world, that the low-hanging fruit's a great thing to pick, and the focus of where attention needs to be made is never at the problem points. It doesn't matter what. I had a lot of people contact me in the last week with all their conspiracy theories and how the big reset's coming, and the World Economic Forum and the mandates for that certain thing. And I got to bet, you stand back and look at it, and these sort of edge people are gaining a lot of ground. There's a lot of people out there who believe bad things are happening, bad things are going to happen, and this is all part of a big conspiracy to change our lives. And I'm thinking, well, I don't actually buy into it, but I can see that the inertia of this sort of thinking is growing so quickly that it in itself could be a major problem.
But isn't that, to get a bit philosophical, isn't that more of induced by a feeling of desperation and an inability to change? Look at the rulers in the UK.
Yeah.
Powerlessness.
Lack of power. People are feeling totally disenfranchised because governments don't listen to them. And like here in New Zealand, the government's just decided, we need more money. We're going to tax your superannuation, your pension savings. We're going to add another, $200 something million a year to the tax revenue by taxing your income, which is going to drop people's retirement savings by a huge amount because of the effect of compounding interest. And people are complaining. The government says, no, we're doing it. And it's no longer a case of the government represents you. It's the government tells you what to do. And people are getting really tired of that, especially, 5 years ago, who would have believed that Western world governments would have locked people in their houses for a month on end, effectively house arrest? You'd have said, that never happened. But public safety is the justification given. And once you've done that once, you've desensitized the public, and there's a risk that they could do it again for whatever reasons. Public safety, that's the big thing that gets rolled out, even for knocking down airfield towers. But it's a concern to me that so many people are now jumping on the conspiracy bandwagon, and the groundswell's going there. And things like this remote ID just add to that fear that the government is, why are they restricting our toys so much? Is it because we might see something they don't want us to see? What's going on? And it all adds, individually, none of these things are important. But when you aggregate them and people look at the big picture, they go, ooh, there's something going on here. And it's hard to counter that.
Well, that's what you call, it's the helicopter view from to see the situation. You go up and have the helicopter view. That's why they don't want drones to go up, because they just see too much.
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it? What on earth is? Yeah, I think there's a lot of desperation and a lot of. Has my main internet come back? That'd be good if it has. Let's see. I wonder if I can join in from the other computer.
Can we have two Garys at once? That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be good. That would be quite the best. I feel.
See if he connects.
Good. Well, good luck, everybody. Eyes down, full house. Here we go.
I have to go in a minute. I can't stay the full length tonight.
I can't stay the full time either.
I have a very, very early morning tomorrow, and I mean early. But yeah,
it's a brilliantly sunny day, and I'm going flying.
Hey, Mr. Ian's boss, he's going to bed early to get to work.
I have a 6-hour drive tomorrow morning. So
hey, 6 hours. Are you going to Moscow?
Look! Oh, yeah.
He's been cloned. It's a conspiracy, I say. Nanobots in his blood.
Nanobots in his blood. It's all too hard. This is where I'll go away now.
Just turn the phone off.
Surely if I just disconnect this, don't call me Shirley. Can you hear me on this speaker?
Yes, we can hear you on both.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear you on echo?
Me.
There's no echo now.
Yeah. No, he's gone now. The other man is vanished.
I can't hear you. Oh, that's because I'm not connected.
Oh, we can say anything. Now's the opportunity.
There we are.
Bruce.
It was the evil twin.
Matters of confusion, absolutely. But at least this is the internet's back. All right, yeah, we won't hang around too long. Yeah, it's a funny old world we live in. I've seen a couple of the best thing. Of course I'm ready for this. The best I think I've seen thing that I've nominated for the most obvious way of designing your agricultural drone. I don't know if you all saw it. If only I was prepared. I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't ready. Here it is here. This thing. Right, put this up here. Yes, the paint has dried. Share screen. This thing. I thought this thing was brilliant because they've made an agricultural drone and they've made it look like a tractor.
It looks like it's made out of Tupperware.
Well, let's hope it's not got the repairability of a John Deere.
I know, and that's actually the logo of another company. But I reckon you cannot underestimate the value of making your machine
look like a tractor.
If only it ran on diesel.
He only ran on diesel. Part of the modeling software. He only did the first part of the modeling software. Come on, guys.
Interesting. It looks like the Inspire motors from DJI.
It's huge. No, it's huge. Is it? It's huge.
They're probably T motors, but
yeah. I'm pretty sure they're T motors. And then the other interesting thing I think was I'll stop sharing that one. Another interesting thing, which was again, and you've reminded me there by saying T motors, was the US Army saying no, stay away, say something, see something. I don't know if you saw that post, but there was this machine that was in that. And look, I reckon all of us could start working out exactly what's on. There's T motors. So this is used to
okay.
testing.
So there's a here 3 or here 2. Yeah, we've got T motors.
Right, exactly. Let's reverse engineer this, shall we, in our special secret labs? If we could get the picture clear enough, we could even work out what that QR code or whatever it is that there, couldn't we? So that was pretty amazing. That was and that's from look, 332nd Air Expeditionary Wing, telling us what to do if we spot a drone, which is very interesting indeed.
Does it say shoot it down?
Doesn't say.
You've got to get your remote ID app first to find the operator and shoot him down.
Absolutely. Let's go back over here, and this was Patrick's little thing. He has discovered. If you're in America and you're after your BV loss part 91 401 403 bracket B waivers for VLOS, all of these ones have been incorrectly applied for. Not that we'd have exactly every one and a link to them, or we wouldn't do that sort of thing. But they have copied and pasted. Lawyers have copied and pasted the first one and not changed various bits. So all of these are not valid. But, who cares? Who cares?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Gen Ace battery, Tartu. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I suppose this is the problem with this stuff. It's the same as airspeeder. It's the same as everything. It's only a problem until something goes wrong. And then someone will look at the paperwork and go, oh, you copy and pasted that. In the UK, as a commercial operator, I have to submit my manual for certification every year. That manual doesn't get through unless it's correct. So how that's got through, I don't know.
And
it's not about assuring safety. It's about assigning blame when bad things happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much. I4 D, that 1-ton multi-rotor is the flying basket lot in I'm going to say Italy. I'm sure it's them that's got something like that. And there is a Chinook style helicopter hitting the streets now at Chinook style multi-rotor, and that's a ton.
Birotor.
Birotor. There we are. Yeah, something like that.
Did you see how Walmart are delivering packages by drone? Did you see the delivery mechanism? I watch Alan News channel. That it's like zipline. They fly a fixed wing over and they drop a package out of it with a really makeshift kind of half paraglider, half parachute thing, and it smashes into the ground and bounces around in your backyard. And then you get a text saying, your champagne flutes have arrived. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and they've got towers everywhere, with towers with people stood in them to make it extended VLOS. So they're visual line of sight with the thing all the time. So yeah, it's not coming. It's never going to come. It's never going to come. Blood, zip line, blood across flooded rivers and mountains and terrain. Yeah, I get it. But as you say, champagne flutes to my back garden. No, I don't think so.
I mean, what happens if there's a little kid in the backyard and this thing hits him in the head? I mean, it came down at a fair pack. It fell quite quickly. I thought it would have a parachute, but it's like just a folded piece of plastic, which is more of a paraglider thing. And it really comes down at quite a pace. It bounced probably at least 300 mils into the air after it hit the ground.
Come on. If it works on Mars, why shouldn't it work on Earth?
It blasts off into the neighbor's backyard and sets fire to their hedge, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a funny old game and all of that. I can't help feeling some of those pigeons are coming home to roost, and some of the urban air mobility stuff as well, even though there's big announce of what did somebody announce? One of the airlines.
The Lilium. Have you seen the Lilium one? Have you seen how stupid that is? The wing has got a whole lot of EDFs in it.
Yeah.
How inefficient is that? And EDF is one of the least efficient ways to turn electricity into noise. Exactly. And they've got EDF so that it looks cool. It looks cool. And that's the thing. They're not selling a product. They're selling an idea. And it doesn't have to work. It just has to look good and sound good and attract the venture capital.
Come on. If you are trying to sell to investors, what do you sell? Efficiency or a nice PowerPoint?
Yeah, but they're talking 200-mile range. You're not going to get that with an electric-powered vehicle using EDFs. It's not going to happen.
they've already had a couple of fires in there. Yeah, they don't like it because I keep I keep moaning at them to properly publish the noise figures, and they don't. They were at Farnborough, and I just walked. Well, I walked past them. Just like,
yeah, they're claiming low noise in their promotional material.
Speaking about noise, Ian, how was the noise of your experience with the Avata?
It's loud, but it's only loud when you're close to it. Once you get out a bit, it fades.
Oh God!
But it's annoyingly loud. It's annoying. It's not the volume. It's the tone. It's like I've heard a swarm of angry bees. No one wants it. Imagine you're picnicking in a park and you see a little bee on your sandwich, and then you hear this what sounds like a swarm of angry wasps. What are you going to do? You're going to get your remote ID app out. You're going to go over and shoot the guy flying the drone.
Horses are not going to like this app, specifically horses, because of the tone and the thing. Yeah, it's loud. It is loud for a cine whoop. It is pushing some noise.
It is loud, very loud for any. I think it's the loudest I've ever seen a drone so far.
Up to 18 minutes, aren't they claiming? 18 minutes flight time?
No, you're not going to get 18.
That's the comment of the night. I wish I could bing, 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 bing that.
Same thing I said in my only when you're close to it. It's, I reckon, a good 10 to 12.
Oh
minutes.
God, you are driving it carefully. Come on, Ian.
Yeah, I can't put it in manual mode yet because I still haven't got the actual remote controller. Royal Mail inconveniently went on strike.
You still have the crazy joystick?
I'll be honest with you.
There's no that crazy joystick.
It's the point and click interface.
I actually genuinely am starting to like this. I tell you something this is quite good for. I can see this becoming quite good in
banging
inspection
in nails
and stuff like this. And the bit I like is this, right? The way it works is it puts a dot on the screen and you're telling the aircraft to go with the dot or the circle is. And the nice thing about it is I was doing it in here. I was flying in here earlier. I flew outside. And from an inspection and stuff point of view, the nice thing is if you turn the head tracking on, you can use it so you can sort of point where you want it to go, guide it through like this, and then sort of go, oh, I want to have a look at that. Yeah, want to have a look at that. Yeah, that's all fine. And then fly off. I think they could be onto something. It's good fun. Genuinely, it is good fun. And kids will love this. Getting kids to fly.
Did you get your children to fly it yet?
No, I was going to yesterday. Unfortunately, my wife isn't very well, and we didn't actually leave the house yesterday in the end. So that's why I flew tonight, because I had to fly the battery down before I went away. I did a flight, but the kids didn't. But I'm going to do it the weekend. Unfortunately, this weekend didn't quite go to plan. I'll be honest, I'm going to have to order batteries.
Check DJI forums for Inspire. See if there is a Ian guy asking to have that remote controlling an Inspire.
It is good fun. Genuinely, shove it in sport mode, point and go. You sort of get used to it very quickly, and it does become quite smooth because what you're doing, the only bit it catches me on every time is altitude, because you want to do that to go up because that's the angle, but it doesn't really want it. It actually wants that arm movement. It's quite weird. If you do that, it doesn't really do the movement. You've actually got to do the arm movement as well.
Apparently you can tie strings to that and fly control line with it as well.
Yeah, it isn't
as
bonkers and stupid.
Does your like that? So your is like that?
Your is that.
Oh,
so do that.
That's intuitive, isn't it? How do you roll it then?
It is when you're flying, because when you're flying forward and you want to turn, you do that, and then you want to turn and you do that, and then you want to go up.
So what if you just want to roll?
Roll
just roll it to the side without yawing.
You can't, because it's in like an FPV flight mode. So it's not got. It's like FPV mode on some of their other drones. It doesn't give you full. Like if you stop the aircraft and hover and do that, it will yaw. So if you do that when it's static, it's yaw.
Okay.
So when you're forward, what it will do, because forward is that. So when you're forward, what it will then do is that does a bank turn, very much like a fixed wing. It's
keeping the rudder in as it goes.
It goes around. Yeah. Okay. And if you slam it like that, it will then sort of kick the yaw over it over the top of the bank to come around quickly. So the more you give it, it will transition from a bank to a yaw.
So it's like the FPV drone, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It's that mode. It's the same mode, Bruce. It is the same mode. But yeah, it's quite good fun. But the nice thing I did find is the point bit. You sort of go, right, I want to go there, and you move your hand until the bit is where you want it to be, and then you go through it. And
that'll connect to the app?
Yeah, the head goggles connect to the app. So the goggles do, not the controller.
Not the device. Okay, so remote ID would be via the G.
Absolutely,
they could GPS. No, they haven't got a GPS.
No GPS in them, but you could use the phone. I think if they want to comply, they could do it via the app. So
do you have to use a phone and an app to make it work?
No.
So then it won't be standard remote ID compliant.
They'd have to force that for standard remote ID, but they can do that in a software update. But then again,
but
if people
buying now might need to know that.
But remember, that's what they've done with the Mavic 3. It's going to be an optional firmware update. So again, they could do the same here.
But anything that they manufacture after the 16th has to have it. It's not an option.
Yeah. That's going to be the interesting one, isn't it? That's going to be the interesting.
It's a good question.
You can't. If you stop, you can fully yaw and then go forward. And if you want to just increase altitude, if you go to horizontal, the aircraft stops and then it allows you to go up. So if you go, if you just stop and do that, it will then go up. If you then do that, and it'll go down. Or if you're flying forward, doing that will increase or decrease height as you move forward. But it's all part of the DJI software. It's very intuitive. I went into flying this thinking I am going to hate it. My attitude towards this was not good. Yet I can't help but genuinely say it's a little bit of fun. And actually, I think they could be onto something from this point and go side of things. Remember Skydio did it. They did it, didn't they, in their app? They did that point and thing. I think DJI are almost there with this, with a bit more intelligence. This on something with like front object avoidance sensors and all of the software, I can really see it's automated modes. It's very automated, but I can see if you imagine someone in a factory environment where you want to inspect down something, right? I want it to go. There, go. Yeah. I get it. I do get it. You could train anyone to fly it in 15 minutes with this.
Well, even Bruce.
15 minutes.
I take longer than 15, but it's good because you put the little dot on your target and then pull the trigger and shoot them. It's great.
Basically, you're saying that you need 2 batteries to teach someone to use the controller.
Well, no. Yes. For the drone. No, you don't even need that.
Yeah.
15 minutes, I'm talking competent. 15 minutes, someone would, because you take a bit of muscle memory to get yourself, what am I doing, left, right? But the interesting thing is this. You imagine you're training people to fly equipment. So you take 5 people from a maintenance point of view. You've got maintenance staff on a place and you go, right, what we want you to do is be able to fly this aircraft through this unit. You want to be able to go down into there and into there and that. Now you're sitting here with sticks with nothing on screen and you're like, right, you're trying to do this. Or you sit there and go, right, you put the goggles on, you point at that area there, slowly pull the trigger and the aircraft will start to move forward. Release the trigger, the aircraft will stop and hold exactly where it is. If you want to turn, and you can sort of go forward, inch forward, stop, and then turn a bit and then do that and then move through. You're almost sort of using this to push it through the holes.
Like virtual
makes a lot of sense.
What happens if you fly into a little notch where you can't turn around? You can't get out.
No, unless I've missed how you get backwards. But you should be able to rotate if you get into a notch.
Not if it's only as wide as the drone. But they missed an opportunity. It should have an acro button. So you press the acro button and the next movement of the hand controller produces an aerobatic maneuver in that direction, a flip or a roll or something.
Yeah, I do like that. We said that for the FPV drone as well. The big miss on the FPV drone was having automated modes on top of the normal modes. So you could have been in sport mode and have a button where you hit the button and it just went, whoo, in it, forward flip or back flip. And they never did that. And I don't get why. There might be a reverse on this that I've missed. It could be there. I haven't found it yet.
Did it go beep, beep, beep?
Did you try to
because that knows
put it
reverse
that?
This is what happens when you don't read the manual.
So, but FPV pilots usually take a chair and go to the field. So with this remote, it makes you move because FPV.
It's like the Wiimote.
It's all the way back to the Wii. Yeah, which yeah.
But it does. I can genuinely see in more commercial environments use cases for this than just going, "Ooh, that's something fun." I think you could do a lot more. It's that very VR, and I do think we're going to see DJI enter VR a lot more. I think we're going to see them enter the metaverse. I think we're going to see them start doing a lot more around this stuff as well.
I can see uses for this in Ukraine, because they're using drones. You mount your bayonet on the drone, and then you just put the circle on the target, pull the trigger, and bayonet charge. It's brilliant. You don't even need any bombs.
It's genuinely, you want to go into hating it, and it's hard to not come away and go, it's a bit of fun, actually.
Well, that's good.
This industry is not about fun.
At 1,700 euros is quite an expensive toy.
Not really. It's not that expensive. From scratch.
Not for man with
He's the man who gets $100 super chats every time he goes online.
No. If you're starting from scratch, the cost, the DJI is a bargain compared to off the shelf, because you've got to take into account.
I thought you made a fair point in your live stream of that. But people didn't like that.
Come on, Ian.
How much is a GoPro? How much is a GoPro?
Hey, come on,
$400.
But the camera's not a GoPro. It's not as good as a GoPro.
It's very close.
Come on.
Does it do super view?
Buy one of those Chinese off-the-shelf GoPro-like cameras.
It's nothing like that, Louis. The image quality is much higher. It is as close to GoPro as I've ever seen DJI be. Genuinely, it's like the Mini 3 is the same. They have stepped there. It's taken them a long time, let's be honest. They're a few years behind getting there, but they're 95% there now. But you build a Cinewhoop, right? With everything, I've priced this. It is more expensive than buying the DJI kit from scratch. Now, that's the key. From scratch. It is more expensive than buying.
So what happens when you burn out a motor on your home-built Cinewhoop? And what happens when you burn one out on the Avata?
The Avata, for 85 quid, you can have Care Refresh, but DJI aren't selling motors. That's the one thing I'm a bit disappointed about. They're not selling motors. But there'll be motors. You could get everything for the FPV drone. They weren't officially selling any parts for that, and there were thousands of them out there. So
that's because thousands of people parted them.
Ripped them apart.
You can get everything but arms.
Yeah.
But have you taken it apart? I haven't seen. Maybe I've missed your video.
No, I haven't for the drone. I wasn't for the drone. I probably won't. Someone else already has. I have some videos shared with me already. Someone else will do the drone. I'll let someone else do that. It's
because I thought the point was it was going to be replaceable parts like the motors and.
It is. Some parts are, some aren't at the moment. It remains to be seen. It's quite a bigger strip down to change the motors. They could have done more on that.
Can you get a new camera? Because that camera and the gimbal position there, you hit a pole, it's toast, mate. I know. I did it with my Foxwhoop. I smacked the camera,
and it's so vulnerable. The only parts that are available is the top and the bottom frame. But that's where Care Refresh comes in. And I'll be honest, the key is quite good. It's 80 quid. You can smash it up 3 times every year.
Something tells me that
you still pay more, don't you? Pay with the refresh. You still got to pay some extra on top of it.
It's like 40 quid on this one. They've made it cheaper than the others. Interestingly.
Come on, does that means that someone is now on the good boys list of DJI?
No.
After this review?
No. Not what I said about the goggles. The drone is very good. The goggles are a shit show, but the drone is very good. The goggles are a completely different story. Optics are not the optics on bad, but the way they've overshot the field of view largely, in my opinion. You cannot see the whole screen. You cannot see the whole screen.
But you say the field of view is too wide, but how do you manage when you're not looking through goggles? It's 180 degrees field of view. How do you manage in the real world?
What I mean is, the problem is, Bruce, it's too wide to get it in focus. So in the V2s, you can get that whole 52 degrees in full focus, fine. You can't on this. So what happens is the optics, you can drag the optics out to cover the full screen, but then you see that overlap of the two optics in the middle. So when you then converge them back to get it right, it literally cuts off the corners of the screen. But also at no point can I set the optics to not flare the menu items or the OSD. So all of the OSD items from about 2/3 across have streaks and lines coming off them because I cannot get the image 100% sorted. On the V2s, instantly set them perfect. What they've done is too wide for the optics. It probably should be 46, 47 degrees. I think 46 to 48, it would have been fine. They've overshot it.
Yeah, but your eyes are very close together. What does that mean?
Yeah. And it could be different for other people, but compared to every other set of goggles here, these are bad.
Didn't work.
And the anti-fog doesn't exist. And, well, there is no anti-fog. And
did you? So you can go further down to see that then that copper was the
OLEDs
for the
OLEDs. Yeah, what it looks like. This is I couldn't work out what it was, and it does make sense. They'd have to shield it because those MIPI interfaces are highly noisy. Those digital data line, they're highly noisy, so it does make sense why they've shielded that. The goggles aren't terrible, but the size is amazing, but they have gone too far.
Yeah,
and I am
you can't
shocked.
Change the laws of physics.
No, a simple fix could be a zoom out option. That would be nice. So let's take it down a little bit and lose some real estate on the screen. Not ideal, but it is what it is. You're going to have to lose some resolution as well if you do that.
Just look through them backwards. If you get a telescope and look through it backwards, everything is smaller.
Be interesting to see how you find a brew. If I look at the Fat Sharks, the Avatars, and all the Avatars goggles, the Sky Zones, they're all perfect. These, I'm just instantly went, wow, they got this wrong. I can feel it instant. This just doesn't. And I'll be honest, it's not really a big problem in flight. When you're flying, you're concentrating on that middle bit of the screen. So at the end of the day,
the bit you're going to hit.
The bag in front of me, you're concentrating on that. But the problem is when you want to look at a menu item, what you're actually having to do, it's so wide, you're having to go, oh, okay, what's my battery? You're not really able to see the battery and the center of the screen at the same time. You're having to physically move your eyes and go.
Yeah, but it's the same when you're driving. You want to look at the speedo. You got to look away from the road down to your instrument console, and you look back up again. I love the wide field of view. I think it's fantastic.
It's nice, but on these goggles, they haven't got it right.
Because of the focus. To change the position with in software, isn't it?
Items. I'll be honest. If it was end to end clear, I'd be happy, but it isn't, and that's the big issue. It's not end to end focused. And it's a mistake. So we'll have to see. Not many of the reviews had, in fact, none of the reviews said that. I've had about 40 people go, yeah, I've got exactly the same thing. So I'll be interested to see what the unbiased people. No, the unbiased
sort of genetic thing.
Look, it's the same. Look, they send them to all of the KOLs. They tell you what's great about it. What they're not going to do.
I think what they did was they sent the FPV drone to all the KOLs, and they looked at the ones that found fault and didn't send them anything else because they just wanted the positive reviews. I mean, it's a business practice. You understand why they do it. That's why Ian didn't get one. That's why I'll never get one. So.
Yeah, and they didn't send Bardwell one. JB, no. Bardwell didn't have one. Nick got one, and Nick did a really good review. And Nick is the one I'm interested if he's getting the focus issues. Actually, he's one I'd love to hear from to see if he did, because his video was very, very good. It really was. But I put these goggles on for 10 seconds and just went, wow. Why has no one mentioned this? You go into the menus and you go, you put a set of goggles on, Bruce, don't you? And you right, let's get this all sorted. And I'm instantly going, there's streaks everywhere. Why can I not get this right? Okay, now I can see the convergence in the middle, and you're like, really? No one has mentioned this, and I've had them on 10 seconds. Come on. Yeah.
There's the thing, if you've spent all that money on them, a lot of people, I don't want to admit I've bought a lemon. And if they've been sent to you for free, I don't want to not get anything else for free. So a lot of people in that position, whether they bought it themselves or whether they've been given it, they don't want to criticize overly because of, for those very reasons. Yeah. And that's why you and I, Ian, piss so many people off, because we tell it like it is.
I had a bit of negativity on this one. I've had some people saying I did put a post up actually on the live stream afterwards, just saying, look, I'm not, pardon my French, pissing on anyone's bonfire. I'm telling you how I'm finding it. Now, your mileage may vary, and it's hard. You don't want to say to someone who's just bought something and they haven't even opened the box yet, actually, there's all these faults. But the reality is they're there. And if they want to listen to my opinion, then so be it. But then again, my opinions will be different to someone else's. And if they open it and they go, well, it's fine for me, then great. You're laughing. Don't worry about it. but there's another 20 or 30 or 400 people going, I've got the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think
that's the thing. Our physiology changes. As I say, you've got the close together eyes. Wider eyes might not have that problem.
Might not have it. You might find just a bit of extra width.
They spent less time in prison, so it's fine. You know,
call them in school. Boss eyes, you know.
Actually, I'll be honest, Bruce. The goggles aren't comfortable. They push down very heavy on the nose. Now, this can be fixed because the face mask's removable, but they actually
bit of rhinoplasty, you reckon?
They actually, because it's so tight in the middle, they actually close your nostrils down. They're so tight, the nose area is a bit too tight.
I can see the headlines now. Avata drone suffocates operators.
You got someone passes out. You know, and the frustration is, this is a classic with DJI, and I've been here before. I've beta tested for them. I know how this would have gone. There would have been testers who've got this and gone, Jesus, there's some stuff here. But the problem with DJI is the hardware is set in stone so early in their beta process. That's done and dusted. You know, my goggles, my V2s are like alpha, but they're identical to the finished product because DJI are very good with their hardware. They don't change much. Once it's done, all of that initial testing and everything is done in China. By the time it ends up in the rest of the world's hands, that's locked down. That's done and dusted. That's it. We're now messing with software. And there must be people testing this who've put them on and gone, oh, Jesus, this isn't good. But the problem is they're stuffed. It's done. It's the anti-fog is the same issue. There is no anti-fog. There's a ventilation system, but there's no specific anti-fog. Now, they're not the first to do this. Fat Shark famously had to create a faceplate to solve the problem, didn't they, Bruce? But
I remember the days when you had to your first few flights in the morning, you're always wiping all the fog off your goggles, and then someone invented a fan, and the Sky Zones are great. Actually, they're fantastic like that. And even the DJI original goggles, they're great too. But it's funny that people are drifting backwards now.
Yeah, well, Avatar's got it wrong. They have a system, but they've overkicked it the wrong way. And you'll be interested because you've got a set coming in to try, haven't you, Bruce? Now, they've put a system in, but what they've done is I'm actually in the process of redesigning the duct. So I'm going to have a 3D printable duct people can download and print, which is going to kick more air to the eye area. Because what they've done is they've got a channel for the air to go down, and it's like 80% to the system and 20% to the eye area. But because of the way the airflow is, basically all of the air is going into the system. It's just all going that way. Because there's no restriction, why would it? The outside corner goes to the system. The inside corner goes to the eye area. So the natural flow of the air is around the outside. So I'm going to kick it a lot more and then put overspill to come back into the system area if it's not used in the eye area. So if you close the eye vent, it'll just kick back and through. Basically.
Somebody made a very good suggestion. Just spit on the lenses before you put the goggles on. It works for scuba divers.
But the DJI problem is a bit more difficult because there's no blown air. They're sucking air in, and the vents they're sucking air in through are too big at the front. Now, you could block them. Blocking them makes a big difference. I actually tried this. If you block the bottom
then it
vents,
just overheats and melts.
Well, no. I don't know how it would be outside, but if you block the bottom vents, you can really feel it sucking through your eye. You can feel that thing. So there is potentially a balance here that you could restrict the front vents.
Demist button vent then.
Do that a bit.
Just put the aircon on, that'll do it.
This is the crazy thing. The new goggles, the vents are dramatically bigger than the vents on the old goggles on the intake, and that's why we've got the problem. They've overdone the intake vents on the front, which means it's got no reason to pull from the eye area. That's where the issue is. But I still don't like
complicated.
I still don't like the idea
so much easier
of sucking moist air through the electronics. That's not particularly
water cooling. Use it on computers all the time. Yeah. Anyway, I've got to go because the sun is shining and I've got things to do.
I actually have to go as well.
Yeah, all right.
So,
should we go together? Should we go? We'll go to your place, have a beer. That's fine.
Oh, come on over. Yeah, come on over. Wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves. We're out of here.
See you next week.
Care. See you next week. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.